Sean Payton, I mean, they were on the hook for this whole tampering thing because they were talking to Sean Payton.
For like 2 years. They wanted Payton for 2 years. I think they went after someone else, and that didn't work out. They definitely wanted Dable, but they didn't offer him because they were trying to wait on a big name. Yeah, McDaniel's like the fourth guy, so it might actually work. Just because they didn't want him.
Exactly. The reason this team, this franchise, would be inclined to have success is because it wasn't their idea.
Yeah, exactly.
They wanted to dump Tua, probably in the worst way.
Yeah.
So when he wins the MVP this year, I mean, the reason it'll have worked out is because the Miami Dolphins didn't want to have anything to do with it.
They were all in on Watson. And now see what Watson's going to be. This is going to be a whole disaster all year long. Yeah. Tua's a consummate pro who they didn't want, so he might work out with the coach they didn't want, so they might work out like gangbusters.
That's the one thing that really gives me rise for hope, though. I mean, if you've been watching this franchise over the last 20-plus years, you talk about fueled by self-sabotage.
Yes.
That is.
It's true.
You're Miami Dolphins. That should be on the billboard. Miami Dolphins, fueled by self-sabotage.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on the Defo Show on South Florida Live, cranking up another week of what should be a very exciting week on the sporting landscape and all around as well. Because let's face it, if you're on the right side of the grass, it's always a good thing, right? Even if you're peeling yourself off the mat on a Monday like we are. Jeff DeForest and one Mike Lubie Lubitz. Lubie, how are you after this fine weekend? Did you do anything of any particular interest or intrigue besides watch? I'm sure you were riveted to every second of the Florida State Duquesne game. And we did get the answer to the question, does Duquesne have a football team? And the answer is no.
No.
I mean, you talk about Lee Harvey Oswald. I'm a patsy. 100%. You could not have scheduled. This isn't even a cupcake, Lubie. I mean, this isn't even a Twinkie. This isn't a ring ding. It's not a ding dong. I don't know what that was. 47-7. Is your team not good? Because everybody's on edge now, thinking, and this game is now this coming Sunday, the FSU Louisiana State game. Is that this Sunday? I believe it is. This Sunday,
Labor Day weekend.
At the Caesars Superdome now in New Orleans, which they've been slowly renovating, and I guess keeps getting a little bit nicer on the inside. It was a little bit of a dump at one time, the New Orleans Superdome. Not necessarily the ideal place to watch a football game, although the nice thing is it's indoors and you're not schwitzing, especially in September and the massive humidity that tends to hover and permeate the atmosphere in New Orleans around this time of the year. But 3 points, LSU, only laying 3. We talked about that with the professor. And I don't know, is this enough to convince you that Florida State, you believe that they will cover the spread in this ballgame? Is that your stance? Florida State will go in and face the Louisiana State Tigers in the Superdome, basically their home park.
Home game.
And they'll be within 3 points if they don't win the game outright. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I can see why Josh Booty and Ken are where they are because no one's paid attention.
Booty said this was the bet of his lifetime. I mean, he went Stu Feiner in his thing. I'm going to give you my eyeballs on this game.
Yeah.
I mean, he's all
no
in.
one's paid attention to FSU. They're remembering FSU starting 0-4 and losing to Jacksonville State. Again, if you watch this game, they talked about it a lot. Florida State was a very different team the second half. They finished 5-3. Every game that they lost was within one score. The only game was the Clemson game on the road where they had a lead with 5 minutes left, and the refs were an atrocity. Called 2 personal fouls on one drive on FSU that didn't happen, allowing Clemson to take the lead. Florida State had the ball, and they could have ran the clock out. Instead, they tried a stupid punt, and it was blocked. Clemson scored, and really?
Oh, dropping a little bit there, really.
I don't know, too.
I don't know what it is. Could be faulty internet connection. Not sure. Well, okay, you were saying what? You were all excited here. You're ramped up. Now you're a big Mike Norvell fan. You thought after one game you thought he should have been fired. You never thought they should have hired him in the first place. Then you were convinced he was the man. And it's great because this really reflects, it goes back and reflects the psychotic nature of your sports fandom, which you've kind of eased yourself away from a little bit. And I was very proud of you. It's much like your eating habits, where now on Mike Mayo's lunchbox, Mayo is clearly the slob, and you are the modicum of decorum on that program. Yeah, right there, Libby. Why are you shaking your head? You're making
Well,
a disgusted face
let me
here.
know if it's I don't. The popping is confusing to me. So, if it's doing it, let me know. I think Florida State's improved. I don't think they're going to challenge for the ACC. I don't think they're old Florida State, but I think they are improved, and I think people don't realize that. They saw a team that was 0-4, and they think they're just going to get lambasted. And again, this isn't the same LSU. It's LSU with a new coach, new offensive system, a young offensive line, a new quarterback who was sort of average. That's why he transferred. So I think it's a game there's a reason it's 3 points. I think LSU will probably win and they'll probably cover, I guess. But this idea that Josh Booty and Ken have where Florida State is the team that was 0-4, they're wrong. Like, they just haven't paid attention to what Florida. They brought in like 5 transfers at the offensive line the last 2 years. Their offensive line coach was wanted by both LSU and Georgia. Like, he's really good at the job. And they had a top 10 offensive line recruiting class. So, like, they've really worked on the offensive line. And they put up 400 yards on the ground. Yeah, Duquesne doesn't matter, but still 400 yards on the ground. 400 yards on the ground. I mean, 3 guys.
They were playing against nobody, though. I mean, it'd be like they were doing a walkthrough against the third team, and they win that game 47-7. There was some ugliness, and I think it's going to get uglier. I'll give them a pass for playing Duquesne. They've been having a tough time ever since Bob Bowden stepped down. Jimbo, I guess, got him a national championship, but then he left them completely bone dry, according to all theories, and had checked out on the program. It was kind of like the last 45 or 60 days, well, maybe the whole 4 years of the Trump presidency. But, where you couldn't even find a Trumpster. He was curled up in a fetal position somewhere in a closet in Mar-a-Lago, while he was like hugging these documents that he didn't want to let go of, even though they begged him. I love these Republicans. They're screaming, "Oh, my God, can you believe this witch hunt?" They begged this guy for 2 years. Please, just give us the stuff. We don't have anything to say about it. We don't care that you took it. Just give it back, right? It's the old thing. I told this story many times when my Schwinn bicycle got stolen by my friend Richie D'Angelo, and I see D'Angelo riding it. He was a big kid. He was kind of the Fonz of the neighborhood I grew up in Brooklyn. And, he was the leader of the gang that was, doing things that were maybe a little bit against the grain. He was the guy that was flooding the engine of the Good Humor truck while we robbed the ice cream out of the side. He was the guy that was orchestrating the egg hunts, whenever we, would toss a bunch of eggs through the windows of buses. Always doing stuff like that. Minor criminal activity. So anyway, I see him riding my Schwinn bicycle, and I'll never forget this. The guy looks at me, and he says, "Oh, man, DeForest, if I knew this was yours, I would have never stolen it." Like, it was okay to steal somebody else's bike, but I'd never stolen your bike. Well, what are you talking about? Here, take it back. It was great.
Oh, my God.
My mother was very happy about that. But, it's kind of crazy because, you're looking at Utah State, Alabama. And this is one of those games where you're thinking, my God, I mean, how could they possibly put this on the schedule? As embarrassing as Duquesne was for Florida State to open a season with. I mean, you talk about opening up with a patsy. Utah State is life and death to beat the University of Connecticut in week 0. University of Connecticut, which had to fire this coach who turned out to be, a long-term clown job that he did there, where he won like 6 games in 10 years and was getting annihilated in virtually every game. They got Jim Mora now coaching the University of Connecticut, trying to turn that program around. Not sure, how much of a monumental task that's going to be. Probably too much for virtually anybody. Nick Saban couldn't turn this program around. Really? Lombardi couldn't turn the program around. Jim Mora is going to do it. Jim Mora Jr., not even Jim Mora. Jim Mora Sr. probably would be a viable candidate for that job. Playoffs? What are you talking about? So Utah State was life and death to come back from the grave from a losing side of the scoreboard at one point in the game against UConn. What are they going to do against Alabama?
Oh, good.
So we can forgive them the cupcake, If I had known you were this bad, I would have never put you on the schedule.
Hey, look, UM starting with Bethune-Cookman and then Southern Miss back to back.
Bethune-Cookman, though, is a traditional patsy game for the University of Miami.
But
see, if it's traditional patsyism, then I think it's okay. But when you just go out of your way to find like a new patsy, it's a little bit on the inexcusable side, you would have to say. Anyway, we have no way of formulating a judgment. Of course, they look great in that game. No, eclipsed only by how good the Dolphins looked against the Philadelphia Eagles in their final preseason game. We'll get into that later on. John Congemi going to be with us, and it's always great having John on the show. He is all over TV with this Miami Dolphins team, John Congemi. What? And I don't know, does he have some kind of Ponce de Leon type of thing
Yeah, what is
where he has found the fountain of youth. This guy does not age like a split second over the years. I mean, he looks like he was coming off the practice field for St. Thomas Aquinas High School, which they were in some big national game. Did they win that thing, St.
Yeah.
Thomas? They did? Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So we have some teams that are working in the right direction. And I don't know if you ever got into this at all, Lubie. Did you ever think to maybe handle some of the things that you have high anxiety about, that you might delve into some form of hypnosis, self-hypnosis? Have you thought about that at any time?
No.
People have used it for a lot of reasons. Actually, I mean, hypnosis, I studied it a little bit with a guy, and he was teaching me like self-hypnosis, and he himself had the ability to supposedly hypnotize people. I don't know that I was ever really under the influence of hypnosis with this guy, but the self-hypnosis technique is essentially just like any form of meditation.
Okay.
Where, you kind of like release everything, and you just get into the inner sanctuary of your mind and try to give yourself positive messages. And then when you come out of this thing, I don't know that you're actually in a hypnotic trance, but I mean, we all kind of experience it in different formats or different ways. A little bit of self hypnosis, and that's something that you could sort of use to help yourself guide yourself through life, like we have to hypnotize Mayo to maybe get off this sandwich kick at the end of the month. So and people think of it as the deal that you would see like at a carnival, where the guy's waving a gold coin in front of you or some kind of shiny object and saying, you're going to go into a deep sleep. And it seems far-fetched. I mean, it seems kind of hocus pocus fugazi, because, you're watching some guy and supposedly he's all of a sudden under the influence, and a guy says, hey, why don't you bark like a dog? And the subject goes, come on, man, that ain't real. I mean, these guys have this thing worked out. But dangling like that object in some kind of sort of hypnotic trance, like state, is that 8 and a hook with the Dolphins for me. I mean, after they put 48 on the board, are you really doubtful that they could have the same record at the very least that they had last year? And it appears to me that this Mike McDaniel is handling he is either just, I mean, we're in for like the biggest surprise ever when a guy turns out to be totally inept, or he is handling everything like a complete champ. I mean, giving me a lot of confidence that the man knows what he's doing, as evidenced by that clip, which I guess we've been playing for the last 3 weeks, but as evidenced by that clip about Sean Payton, this guy was an afterthought. He was not a main object of the Dolphins search, a main target of the Dolphins search for a coach. It was kind of like, we struck out again. Let's see if Coco Cameron's available, which is how they came up with Coco Cameron in the first place, because they went out and they tried to get everybody else that ever had a clipboard and a whistle. And when they couldn't hire anybody that they had on their list of desired candidates, they said, but what about this guy, Coco Cameron, man? What an offense these guys have. Oh, was he with the Chargers before that? I think he was, yeah. And they always, I mean, they're still running Air Coryell, so, their offense is always going to look pretty good. They're doing it again this year, and many people kind of feel very sleeper-esque team to maybe make, a move for the Super Bowl, the Chargers? Does that seem far-fetched? Might seem far-fetched. Anyway, Dolphins look pretty good in their final preseason game. They made some cuts of guys that I never heard of, so I don't know how significant they were. And it seems to me the rosters are just absolutely loaded up. I mean, if they have to get down to 53 guys on the official roster, are they not like at 80 now with a week and a half to go? 80.
Yeah.
So that means 27 guys. Is that the right math? Yeah, 27 guys still have to be cut.
Yeah.
I don't know. So naturally, you're not necessarily going to see any marquee names on that list. I don't think there were any shockers on the Dolphin cut list. But a couple of things decided in the preseason. We'll get into that. We'll kind of table the NFL until a little bit later on. Brett Tessler, the agent to the Stars, is going to join us. And that's coming up about 7:35. And then John Congemi goes Dateline Dolphins, although we may have to call it, something else. Right? Because it's all encompassing what Congemi does. Is it too narrow-minded to think of it just as Dateline Dolphins? We did that because you need some kind of alliteration if you're going to do anything, involving football. It's a Football Friday here on South Florida Live. You need a guy with a big voice to tell you that it's a Touchdown Tuesday here on South Florida Live. That's where we came up with Degenerate Friday, right? It was kind of a play on the whole idea that we have some big dynamic thing going on here, and you're going to know more about football at the end of the show than you ever knew in your lifetime. Even Louis Riddick is tuning in to figure out if he missed anything in his hour-long dissertations about a 2-yard run on Monday Night Football. And I guess we get the big announcing teams coming in now to make their debut there with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman going to take over ESPN. So what happens to those other three guys? Because they already have the Manning thing going. What third-tier network of ESPN are they going to be performing? These poor schminks. I guess they're making enough money, right? Steve Levy, I don't think he got a little bit of a raw deal there because he did a nice job trying to. They put him with Brian Greasy, for God's sake. Brian Greasy, is about as vapid and dry as Urban Meyer is, only without the big name. I thought his father was kind of dull. In terms of being an announcer, although everybody thought he was a genius when he first came on the scene, Bob Greasy.
Yeah.
But I never really, I didn't really see the brilliance there. It was hardly, maybe because we're spoiled, those of us that are a little bit older, that grew up with Al DeRogatis as the ultimate color man. And DeRogatis was the greatest. Just of all time. Often overlooked. People would say John Madden. They would give you, an assortment of others maybe that they enjoyed in a color analyst role. No one ever better than the great Al DeRogatis. He literally would predict plays, out of nowhere, Libby. It was fantastic. Worked with Kurt Gowdy all those years on the main broadcast, mostly with the American Football League. So it was even doubly exciting because at that point, the NFL was just handing the ball off and running 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Every coach was trying to be the next Woody Hayes or Lombardi. I want a seal over here and a seal over here. We'll get into it with John Congemi. What should we call this thing? Pigskin what? Pigskin profit, pigskin this, pigskin that. Something with pigskin. It's got to be pigskin, something with a P. Do we have to rename the Congemi segment from Dateline Dolphins? Because people around the country, around the world that are now watching this live stream are thinking, who gives a shit about the Dolphins? A suck-ass team that's probably going to win 8 games. How could that be? Lubie, how could they be worse than they were a year ago? Do we have to convince Congemi of this?
It feels like it.
Wow. Am I missing the boat? I consider myself a decent observer of sports. And while my betting prowess, obviously, is about as flat as it can get, the proverbial Parisian runway model, it doesn't matter. When I'm unloading on a game, I'm usually wrong about it. But in trying to figure stuff out, I think I have a decent handle on what's happening. Most sports fans do they not? You had, for a long time, unfortunately, a cursive Rachel Nichols type of approach, where whatever you gave out was wrong. But even you have kind of overcome that now that you've gotten more into the whole idea about, there's always a way for the degenerate to end up on the losing side of things. So you have to consider more than just the surface facts about a ballgame. Okay. If you take the thing tonight, here's Serena Williams. She's won 23 Grand Slams. She's going against this girl named Danka Kovinic.
Okay.
Danka Kovinic. All right. Now, Danka Kovinic is ranked number 80 in the world. So, actually, it would look to be a challenge for Serena since she is unranked and outside the top. That puts her outside the top 400.
Oh, geez.
All right. She's 1-3 since she's made her comeback from all of these injuries. She's 40 years old. She is moving like Butterbean Esh. Actually, Esh had better footwork at this point because he could box a little bit. It was not a total waste. Butterbean Esh. It's just that, let's face it, you can't find that many tomato cans at a Campbell's manufacturing plant. Unbelievable. But that was a weak joke. The Campbell's thing, does that work? Heinz, I don't know. What do you make the reference to when you're talking about a tomato can? So Serena is a 4-1 favorite tonight. And you're getting plus 290 on this girl, Danka Kovinic. But I'm thinking Danka, who is not particularly good on hard courts, and I think she's 0-2 in the tournaments. She got knocked out in the first round of both of the tournaments that she was in, entered prior to the U.S. Open. And does she just cave into the moment in this one, as Tony Segreto would say? The pressure will be amplified. Everybody's going to be rooting for Serena tonight, no? It's going to be a big celebration. They've already scheduled a celebration. Whether she wins or loses, they're going to have this big ceremony, and rightfully so. I mean, look, one of the brilliant athletes of all time. I'm not a big fan of her persona. I just don't like phonies. And while she may be brilliant in many, many aspects of her life, and she gets involved in a lot of stuff, I haven't really been the biggest fan of the way she comports herself, and treats people, especially when losing. Should you not have a little bit of dignity in a loss besides, calling the chair umpire a flaming rhymes with bunt at the post-match press conference? While, sulking and whining and complaining about virtue. I don't want to get into that because I don't want to diminish the greatness of Serena Williams. She was a fantastic player. Still, obviously, people would say, hey, look at you fat fuck. I mean, could you score a point against this woman? And the answer would be no. I mean, she would probably have a golden set against me. Right? Then just like urinate right on my face. I mean,
that's not a standard. Like, I mean, at one point she was invincible, and now she's not only beatable.
She can't move. Yeah, she can't move.
Yeah, I mean, that's sad.
Yeah.
I mean, the person she is now, it's sad. I'm glad they're ready to do the celebration because they're assuming she's going to lose.
Oh, they need to be ready. There's no doubt about it. I mean, this other girl's in there with a hell of a shot because the last match that she had, the one match she won was over a qualifier who really, took her right to the wall. And could have easily won that match. I mean, just unfortunate that. Well, and you do see this. I mean, certain people. It's even Raducanu when she beat Serena very easily in straight sets. It was like 6-3, and then she bageled her in the second set. Bageled Serena. Imagine Serena, a bagel and cream cheese, my friend. Philadelphia brand. Not even Publix. Went right for the royal stuff there, even though it's a couple of dollars more for a small little package. Cream cheese just smeared all over her face. And got bageled, but Raducanu, who won the U.S. Open last year, and obviously was playing a lot better level of tennis than Serena was this year, even though she wasn't having a great year, but she was doing okay, starting to maybe emerge a little bit as a contender again. She said she was nervous the whole time because you're in there against this legendary presence. And, it can be very intimidating, especially for some of these really young girls that are playing on the women's tour. So we'll see what happens tonight. That's going to be a big deal in New York City. It's a sellout, 23,000. They're all going to be going nuts. I would imagine you get a little bit of an atmosphere like you did. There was probably nothing that paralleled that run by Jimmy Connors. I think he made it to the semifinals that year when he was 39 years old. But he was winning all these dramatic matches and, just playing with an internal fire that was so evident that you could feel it all the way up in the back row there while you were swallowing moss that were coming off the lights there as the airplanes were just buzzing your hair that were flying into the airport there. What is that? LaGuardia? Right there by the LaGuardia. So. It would be. Yeah. JFK's out there on Long Island. I don't know. Which airport is it? It's got to be LaGuardia.
I don't know. You're the New Yorker.
I lost my New York geography. Like if I was playing Jewish geography right now, you remember the Zelinskys? No, I don't. Who the hell are they? Who are they, circus people? I don't know. Jews being shot out of a cannon. What is that?
Jesus.
Anyway, I'll be watching tonight. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. You did have the wrap-up of the NFL preseason. A couple of things were decided. I guess Mitch Trubisky is going to be the starter for Pittsburgh. Has that been decided by Mike Tomlin?
Oh, really? Oh,
God. Lubie, there are people out there that don't think Trubisky is as bad as you believe him to be. That think that he has the possibility to maybe do some good. I don't know. He looked pretty good in the preseason. Geno Smith. Remember him? The last time we saw him, he was getting slugged by one of his own teammates.
Yes.
Who punches out their quarterback? Geno Smith. And I think Rex was in favor of it, right? Rex was like Eddie Hearn, man. He was trying to make the matchup there, see if he can get Anthony Joshua another fight. But he won the Seattle job over your man, Drew Lock. You love Drew Lock. Remember when Lee Steinberg told us that Drew Lock was going to be brilliant?
Yes.
He was I think Drew Lock was his first client back when he came back after achieving sobriety again, and he came back and that was his first client, I believe. It was Drew Lock, and he got him drafted in the first round by the Denver Broncos, and it didn't work out, unfortunately. But getting beaten out by Geno Smith, Pete Carroll's no fool when it comes to quarterbacks. He started Russell Wilson when they had that guy Matt Flynn they signed for like $800 million, and Flynn had one good game as a mop-up guy, playing for the Green Bay Packers. I remember he threw the 6 touchdown passes. He gets $10 million a year from the Seattle Seahawks, and got to give Carroll credit, right? He says, you know what, this other guy's better. So you would think he would know, but I mean, Geno gets the nod over Drew Lock in Seattle. I don't know that it makes any difference, does it? Seattle's not going to be that good this year, are they?
Well, that's what it is. I mean, they're in full rebuild, and they don't probably mind getting a top 5 pick. They'd probably be very happy to get a top 5 pick.
Am I mistaken, or is Notre Dame the number 5 team in the country in preseason polls?
Yeah, they're going to Ohio State this weekend.
Ohio State, 17.5-point dogs. How is it number 5 team in the country? 17.5-point underdog. Even if they were playing, well, I guess maybe if it was Alabama and you said there's such a big disparity, but I mean, Ohio State's number 3 in the country. So the 3 versus 5, and the game has a line of 17 and a hook. Wow. Are the Mighty just destined to prosper again this year? Do we even need to bother playing out the season? Is that much of a disparity between the top teams in the country, top 2 or 3 teams in the country, and everybody else?
Oregon's 11, and they are a 17 and a hook point dog to Georgia. They're 11.
This is 3 versus 5, Lubie. I mean, it should be like what?
Like 2?
Maybe a 7-point game? I don't know. 13, 17 and a hook. Yeah. 17 and a hook you're getting with Notre Dame. I don't know. Do I do that thing where I book all of my friend Francesco's bets again this year? He's going to be sending me like 20 games a year. I mean, a week. He bets every game on the board. It's amazing. So, and I can use that as a guide in most seasons, although he had a winning year last year. It was a shocking winning season for my buddy Francesco. First winning season he's had in the 8 or 9 years or so we've been doing this. Where I just book all of his games automatically. He sends me whatever he wants. Now, he does get his lines out of the Jewish Journal, as we've been saying many, many times. He's getting those Segreto lines, only they're never favorable to me. It's always more favorable to him. Well, where the line is 3 and a hook, and somehow he's getting 6 and a hook. And I'm like, what? Where are you getting these? And then he claims he's getting them. Now, he has a betting app, so he's getting like up-to-the-date lines. So what kind of bullshit is he trying to feed me? That it was like a mistake texting. I said, lose some weight, man. Your fat fingers keep punching up bigger numbers than they're supposed to be. Speaking of big, that Hawaiian Little League team, what a disgrace. I mean, there's no way. I mean, there were 2 guys on the Hawaiian Little League team that that guy, Rowdy Tellez? Giant motherfucker of a guy. I mean, like a big guy. And he's as big as Daniel Vogelbach, the guy that got traded from the Pirates to the Mets. Started out red hot. I think he's kind of cooled off a little bit. They had 2 guys on the Hawaiian Little League team that looked bigger than these guys. Rowdy Tellez and Vogelbach. I mean, and both of those guys probably tipped the scales, somewhere in the 265 range. I mean, they make Bartolo Colon look like he should be on the cover of GQ magazine.
Look at this team.
Talking about his new keto diet and workout regime. You're like, what? Or routine. Regime, did I say? All right, Brett Tessler, the agent of the Stars, is going to join us. I mean, there should be a lot of changing of position, should there not, with these cuts coming up? Yep. And I'm curious, when are the final cuts made? Because there was always like drama after the 4th preseason game. I would imagine that by a week from today, the final rosters have to be made official. But that there was always that drama after the 4th preseason game. Remember where they had to cut like 17 guys the next day, and you don't really have that this year. Because you're kind of detached from it. I don't know. I mean, are they even covering practices? What's going on? Or did everybody go on a 2-week vacation to the Bahamas like Brady? Not sure about Brady's commitment here, Louis. What do you think, man? This was a guy that was always the leader.
Yep.
He was the guy that was going to be there first. He's going to be turning the lights on. He was going to help the guys scrub the floor as they closed up the facility. And you know what, Giselle? I'll be home when I'm home. What happened to Tom Brady?
I don't know. I think she made an ultimatum of some kind. I just find it weird to do it now. Like, why are you doing it now? It's a weird time to do it.
I mean, there are probably times where it's justified, but when the wife or the woman in your life starts really messing with your work. I mean, it's not like you have to go Godfather in this, Michael Corleone. Don't ask me about my business. I wonder why, Michael.
Exactly.
As he's like sitting on top of a dead body, you're trying to make sure that she doesn't see the head. But I mean, I don't know. It's just a really disturbing intrusion, right? When the relationship starts to impact in a negative way the things that you do at work. If you're, assuming you're doing some kind of legitimate job, right? Just going out there doing a 9 to 5 like Lubie and I have been doing our entire lives. And it's happened with me. I mean, because I've had any number of, you would have to say, somewhat tumultuous relationships. And where you come to work and it's still mind-boggling to you that like how could you possibly think that? I mean, do you think that's happening to Brady as he's dropping back to pass? He's seeing Giselle with wings. When you start seeing bugs, Lubie. I was seeing bugs after that trip to New Orleans. We made a nice little comeback from a degenerate standpoint over the weekend, which is good.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't want to get like a professional wrestler here, but I'll give you a little demonstration. Not that it's a substantial amount of money. It's not a life-changing thing, but a lot better than getting just absolutely wiped out and annihilated. And this is why we recommend so highly that even if it's a little out of the way, if you're going to go and play like slot machines and Vegas-style games, go to a casino where you can win. There's a reason I'm always getting these free Pitbull ticket offers from, a certain giant guitar-shaped hotel. Right? Why do they want me there? Because you got no shot.
Yeah, zero.
Pitbull, yeah, you want to see Clapton? No problem.
Exactly.
But if you go to like Hialeah Park, you're in there with a chance to win, and that's what it's all about. And they're paying big jackpots out. They pay out millions of dollars every month, and they do it in style. And of course, you get a great vibe in there. You have all your favorite Vegas-style games. You can play blackjack. You can play roulette. You can shoot craps. You can do a lot of things. And then the slot machines, the big feature there is the Royal Reels. They have a lot of those machines there, but people are winning like gargantuan sums on these slot machines. And so, you're thinking, hey, it's my time. You love going down there. Now, they have a great rewards program if you get a player's card, so I would recommend that right away. Get a player's card when you walk through the door. If you have, like the Mustang does, like super double platinum VIP status, diamond cutters level, then they'll honor that, and you'll have equivalent rating right there at Hialeah Park, and it comes with all kinds of amenities. I'm telling you, generous amounts of free play and lots of discounts, and food and drink, and all kinds of free tickets to things. It's just absolutely fantastic. The rewards program at Hialeah Park. They really do everything in a first class professional manner there. Poker room is great. The Champions simulcasting room had the Travers. I was wrong about Epicenter. Wow. I mean, Lubie, you talk about a horse sitting chilly top of the stretch. They showed like a pretty good close-up as the horses were coming off the turn there. They happened to switch to a shot where you could see just a firm hold on this horse. Hadn't even let him go, man. Boom, right down the stretch there to win the Travers. That was great. And what an atmosphere they had at Hialeah Park. I mean, for any of the big races, it's absolutely fantastic. Still a week to go at like Saratoga. And I believe Del Mar as well. So you still have the boutique meets. And, of course, big Labor Day celebration going to take place at Hialeah Park. So check it out on the website. All the information is right there for you. Beautiful Hialeah Park at hialeahpark.com. All right, we're coming back with Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars. His appearance here on the program brought to you by Will and Trust attorney and estate planner, Mr. Michael D. Wild, who I think is it possible Michael D. Wild, is he old enough to have a kid who had like a bar mitzvah or something?
Yeah.
I believe there was like a bar mitzvah situation there, and Tessler might have been a part of that. So
Nice.
we'll find out how the little knishes were. That's always the key to a successful catering job. How were the little knishes? I was at a party that ran out of food like pretty quickly.
Oh, Jesus.
And the guys that were staging the party, they're great. I mean, there's never a problem with these people. So, this was on the restaurant. I don't know if Mayo wants to get into that, where they kind of blow the catering job and people come up to those chafing dishes and there's like water in there. So you end up with like a plate full of mashed potatoes. I mean, and they're telling you, oh, yeah, we're coming out with more food, but they never do. What the heck is that, Libby?
That's not good. That's bad.
Felt bad for my friend Tony. He was very distressed about this because people were still lined up to eat and it was like nothing.
Oh, that sucks.
And you definitely don't want any part of that. That's for sure. The Agent of the Stars going to join us here, and we'll get into some of the things that are happening in the NFL. John Congemi later on. Pigskin one, I had it. It was Pigskin something with a P. Come on, come up with something. Somebody help us out. Sarney, where are you when we need you? Sarney.
Where's Sarney?
Where's Andy, man?
Yeah, where's anyone?
Unbelievable. And then also, I mean, and we should dedicate this show to Jason Jenkins.
Yes.
Who may not be a familiar name to everybody out there, but certainly was to us. And he was the senior vice president. But senior is an unfortunately false concept there. I mean, he had been there for a long time. And now, did he come in right after Harvey? No, he wasn't the next PR guy there. Did they work together, Harvey Green and Jason Jenkins? Because Jason was a terrific guy. And he passed away officially. I think I saw he was only 47 years old. I believe the cause of death was like just an out of nowhere heart attack. Is that true? Okay.
Yes.
Guy looked to be in perfect health.
Yes.
I'm sure there were people that saw him the day before that would have never in a million years imagined that he would be gone the next day. So another example of why you should just live every day to the fullest, people, because you're not guaranteed tomorrow, as they saying goes. And but this was really sad because he was one of the really good guys in the sports world, and always was great with Lubie and me, and was always very cooperative. A lot of times pro teams now have gotten more and more distant from the media, the people, and in the media we are just out there doing essentially free promotion for these teams all day long. So you would think that they would bend over backwards to help you. That's not always the case, right? I mean, just not always the case. Even if you and we've been on the flagship radio station for most of the teams throughout the time. At least I have while I've been broadcasting. Lubie and I were, involved. We had the Marlins on the station. We had the Dolphins prior to that, and the Miami Heat. So you're probably going to take a very favorable view, and you would think that the people that were in the organization would do whatever they could to accommodate, not necessarily your every whim, but like if you say, hey, we want to talk to so and so. They would do their best to get him for you. Jenkins was great with everybody. I mean, the tributes were universal and all unanimous in the idea that this was one great American. He was always nice to us. He bought us a drink at the airport, which who's picking up a drink tab at the airport? When the beer was like $17.50. The only place that's more expensive is at Hard Rock Stadium. But he did a great job, and he had, in the last, I'd say, decade or so, blossomed into more of a role of being, an integral part of the community affairs that were, being handled by the Miami Dolphins. And I will say the Dolphins, as much as people like to rip the organization, they've always been active in the community in terms of charitable efforts. And Jenkins was very much behind a lot of this and some of the programs they had for people to, help people, get scholarships and things of that nature and cancer drives and whatever, and was all in on all of this and just always had a tremendous disposition. So going to be missed. I was shocked. Rarely are you shocked to hear. I mean, when you heard Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter crash, all of a sudden the word starts to circulate and you're getting texts from people. Can you believe this? Kobe? What? And you're thinking, no, he couldn't have passed away. And when I saw, I just caught a blip of it on the game because I was, out on Saturday night. And, I come back, I catch a little blip about, the passing of a Dolphin senior executive. And I thought, who could that be, right? Joe Robbie? Who the hell could have checked out? I don't even know these guys. And when I heard it was Jenkins, I literally was shocked. I mean, just absolutely shocked. So our condolences, and heartfelt emotion goes out to his surviving family, his wife and 3 children. Guy couldn't have been more of a sweetheart. But was really a good guy. Yeah. So that was very sad. I'm sure John will have something to say about that. John Congemi when he joins us. Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars. Coming up in just a couple of minutes here on the Defo Show with Mike Lubie Lubitz. Back with more here on South Florida Live in a moment. Now that.
The time.
7:40.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
The simple pleasures of this job, the way a stadium sounds when one of my players performs well on the field, the way we are meant to protect them in health and in injury. Less, more attention, caring for them, caring for ourselves in the games too.
The agent to the stars, the one and only Brett Tessler.
I believe that movie was about the life of Lee Steinberg, more so than Drew Rosenhaus, as Drew would claim. But, yeah, Drew said he was like a consultant on this thing, and the movie was about him. It's kind of like that Stu Feiner thing with Two for the Money, which was really about Brandon Lang. All right, speaking of agents, so we have the agent to the stars joining us here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, South Florida Live, and Brett Tessler's appearance every week brought to you by a brilliant man, Will and Trust attorney in the estate planning law offices of one Michael D. Wild. Brett, how are you? And I guess the question is, was there a bar mitzvah involved with Michael D. Wild recently? Does he have a child old enough to be bar mitzvahed?
Yeah. Their daughter Kendall had her bat mitzvah Saturday night downtown Fort Lauderdale. It was a great event and great seeing him and his family and being able to celebrate with everybody.
Did they have the little knishes? I mean, that's always my first consideration. Did somebody come around with a tray of those little knishes?
No knishes, but delicious meatballs, delicious tacos. It was not a traditional type of a menu. It was more, it was downtown Fort Lauderdale, so it was more of a hit menu in a nice hip nightclub over at Sway, and they did a great job. A good time was had by everybody.
I usually grab like 2 potato and 1 kasha of the little knishes there. And I choked down the kasha in between the 2 potatoes, but, just try to sample a little bit of everything. All right, speaking of knishes, man, what did we learn about the NFL at the end of this preseason? Are there any sort of, decisive conclusions that we can come to? What did you see out there that was of any significance in the preseason altogether? We had some quarterback position battles that were decided. I guess some may still be up in the air, but what did you take away from the preseason, Brett Tessler?
Well, I obviously watch a lot of different things on a lot of different teams than maybe the average fan would be paying attention to. Not that the average fan would be necessarily paying attention to the preseason at all, but even the most strident fans don't necessarily watch things as in depth as I do as it relates to certain battles, certain positions, as it obviously relates to and affects my clients. So, it was a typical preseason. I prefer 4 games just because it really gives teams a even more comprehensive opportunity to evaluate some of the younger guys. But I feel like these days teams are just now taking the reps away from any veterans. So they're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. They're keeping a veteran, high-priced starter, franchise-type player. They're just pretty much keeping those guys off the field. And so I guess younger guys are probably getting more of those reps to have an opportunity to develop and get evaluated.
There was always some definition to it. I mean, you could kind of follow. It didn't always work out according to plan, but I remember the anticipation when the 4th preseason game had been concluded and they cut down to 53. What was always the very next day. So it seemed extremely significant. We don't have that now. I mean, where are rosters at? Are they at 80? And, what will determine, I mean, how teams decide with no last preseason game? How much, I mean, is going to depend on, the next week in terms of their decision making, watching players in practice to get rid of 27 guys.
Yeah, this is the cut down here. That's the ultimate bloodbath. And it definitely creates a flood in the market of talented players, in many cases, talented young players. So there's many instances where the average person looking at it might be, oh, that guy looked good, they can't cut him. Oh, that guy looked good, they can't cut him. Oh, that guy looks good, they can't cut him. Well, you can't keep everybody. At the end of the day, there's a recommended number of players at each position that most teams have gone with over the decades. And so that pretty much holds true. You have to factor in special teams value as you start to look at some of the backup positions. And then, of course, if there is a talented young quarterback that emerges, then maybe you make the decision to keep an extra guy at that position and in turn have to subtract a guy from another position. So there's a lot of good players that get let go, and teams can't just get the day after final cut down, then cut another 10 of their guys because they want to claim 10 other guys. Football isn't a sport like baseball where a week before the season, you just simply take a guy and plug him in. I mean, this is a sport where it's about chemistry. It's about a very, very expanded playbook, techniques, schemes that guys do or don't fit into from one team or another. So you always see a lot of good players slip through the cracks here over these next few days. And, so in the case of the young guys, they'll likely be kept on their team's practice squad. And then in the case of a veteran type guy, a guy who the team feels may be able to be an upgrade for what they have, or a guy who can help increase their overall talent at a position, maybe you'll see a waiver claim here or there, but it doesn't happen in mass quantities like people would think it would or would expect it to.
So I know you just said it's what we saw, Brett, that the vets weren't playing as much. Young guys were getting more time, which, I mean, for a lot of your guys, that's a good thing. Do you think that is changing how teams are thinking, though? Like, are they going to keep more vets, keep less young guys? What are you seeing? What do you think that means? Or is it just going to be the same old thing?
I feel like with the veterans, if it's a returning veteran to your team, if it's a guy that's been in your program for a couple of years, you know what the guy can do because A, he's done it on the field over whatever amount of time he's been on your roster in regular season games. And then B, you can see with that guy a little bit more in training camp, whether he still, has the same speed, the same power, the same things that made him a good player and got him on the roster in the first place. You could see in practice whether they still have those traits. So if it's like, say a running back that's 30, 31, 32, and you get enough of a look at that guy throughout training camp, you could tell whether he still has his legs or not. And if he does, then you can easily continue to have the success. It's other things where maybe if you see a guy really noticeably losing arm strength as a backup type quarterback or speed at the skill position, that's where maybe you need to stick that guy in the preseason a little bit more and see how it plays out there. But there's other ways that teams can determine these things besides just preseason reps. But in the case of young guys, you got to get them in there. It's incredibly valuable time because remember, not only does it give you an opportunity to evaluate them, it gives them an opportunity to develop, and it gives other teams in the league an opportunity to possibly develop an interest in them where maybe you could get trade value out of a guy if it's somebody you just simply can't keep. Like, you take a look at the Dolphins running back situation. I mean, you got Chase Edmonds, who you paid. You've got my client, Raheem Mostert, who, looks like he'll be the number one back, reunited with Mike McDaniel and healthy. And then you look at guys like Gaskin, you look at guys like Ahmet, and then it's like, what do you do with Sony Michel? And as you start to look at that third, fourth running back who plays special teams. And so these things all factor in, but these are things that I can assure you that the Dolphins organization knows very clearly what they're going to do by now.
Were you doing cartwheels when Raheem ripped off that big run in the preseason? I mean, he hadn't seen any action, and he was coming back from the torn ACL. That had to be particularly heartening. Was it not, or what was he doing this routinely in practice, and we just didn't see it?
So it wasn't actually an ACL, Deep. It was a cartilage chip on the actual bone, which is a little trickier of a thing in the way that, unlike an ACL, once this thing heals, if it heals properly, it's as good as new, as in it's as if your knee never had anything. It just takes a good amount of time. And then obviously once it heals, every player would like to get out there and test it just to get that confidence to know that, yeah, I'm back. And so I think there was great value in that the other night for Raheem. When I talked to him after the game, I told him I was actually more impressed with the first carry that was like 2 or 3 yards. And the reason why is because there was absolutely nothing there. And that was a run where most running backs would get nailed for no gain or even a loss. And the fact that he was able to take contact, be physical, power his way ahead for 2-3 tough yards, to me, given the knee, that was, the bigger test, the more important moment. As far as him running off a 25-yard, run up the sideline, that's something that guy can do in his sleep. And as long as he's healthy, Dolphin fans can look forward to seeing a lot more of that this season.
Some reason when that happened, I saw you running down the sideline with him. I mean, just in celebration. Now, does Mike McDaniel, is his toughest decision going to be how to position it to, the brass there with the Dolphins and the public and the media, that he's going to start Skylar Thompson over Tua?
Oh, stop it.
Because and Bridgewater, because of the way that he looked in the preseason. People are already talking about how they should be starting this kid.
Well, agreed.
Well, here's what I'll say about Skylar Thompson. Number one, to the people who are wondering what do they do with him, is that a guy that you put on your practice squad, in which case you would have to formally waive him, and he would have to go through and clear waivers to be able to get him back to your practice squad. Because I don't know if everybody realizes you can't just take a guy and put him on a practice squad. You have to waive him. You have to give every team in the league an opportunity to put him on your roster. On their roster. And if he gets claimed, then it's bye-bye forever. And if he clears, then you can go ahead and put him on the practice squad. In the case of Skylar Thompson, I just read somewhere this morning that the Dolphins have a very difficult decision to make there. No, they don't. As in, there is no way in hell you waive that guy. And, when you look at some of the other players on the team at the position, in Tua, you've got a guy who was a high pick for you a few years ago, a guy who clearly has some ability. You've got a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, who I would say is a pretty effective, desirable backup type guy. But let's face it, in most instances, if a starter goes down for you during the season, you're not going to see many backups win the Super Bowl unless it's a guy like a Nick Foles, who really had been a long-time starter himself. It's rare, but it can happen. But the reality is, unless you're one of those teams that is that good otherwise, it's not typical that a backup will be able to take the team on their shoulders and lead them, to the promised land. So in the case of Skylar Thompson, look, to those who say, oh, well, they should have drafted Justin Herbert over Tua. Well, hindsight's always 20. Maybe this is one of those situations where, who knows, AFC East teams have had good luck with late round quarterbacks who've emerged into great players. And so, Tom Brady did it as a 6th rounder. Let's hope for the Dolphins' sake that Skylar Thompson could do it as a 7th rounder. But I mean, this guy did everything perfect throughout the preseason. And it wasn't like he had one huge game like you might see a young quarterback have, and then the next game they come down to earth. I mean, every game, just when you thought this guy couldn't be better, the next game even exceeded what he did the prior game. So, I mean, this may be the best preseason any quarterback's ever had anywhere. I mean, because he played a decent amount. There was never a letdown. There was never anything where you see, okay, now I see why this guy's a 7th rounder. Now I see where this guy's going to get cut and end up on the practice squad. It's not too much to ask a team to keep 3 quarterbacks on their roster. Far from unheard of. And it's just too valuable of a position for them to roll the dice and risk another team claiming this guy if they feel like they have something in him. And lest we not forget, when Tom Brady made that Patriots roster as a rookie, his cases looked even less what Skylar's would be to make the Dolphins because he was 4th string. They had Drew Bledsoe, they had John Freeze, they had Michael Bishop. And so I can promise you, to those waiting and seeing and talking about do they or don't they keep him, they're keeping him, because some things are excusable in terms of drafting one guy over another. But when you see a guy at that position show that kind of dominance, if you waive that guy and he gets claimed elsewhere and he picks up right where he left off and becomes the next great one, that's something as a front office person or a coach that you'll be taking to your grave. Do not expect to see that guy get released.
They'll be putting a springboard on the top floor of Hudson Yards, and you'll see Stephen Ross going Greg Louganis off the Acapulco Cliffs if, that took place. All right, the bar mitzvah, I would imagine, as you said, was a sensation because everything this guy Michael D. Wild does is first class, and especially when he's doing his business, which is arranging for wills and trusts. I did a marvelous job for my family with my mother. We would have been shut-out city. It would have been a nightmare without Michael D. Wild, and you can save yourself a lot of grief at a time of grief if you just go ahead and take advantage of his services.
And this is where South Floridians are so lucky to be able to reach out to Michael Wild at southfloridawills.com and literally have the best estate planning attorney in the state right there at their disposal. And, he's helped so many people that, he knows how to do it in a way that's very quick, very effective, and very importantly to a lot of people, very affordable. And so this is why, again, you reach out to him at southfloridawills.com. Don't continue to procrastinate on this. I know what it's like. You feel like it's something you'll deal with next month, next year, so on and so forth. Look, you never know what life has to offer. You never know what the future is going to be. And so protect your family. Reach out to Michael Wild, southfloridawills.com.
They didn't have the little Frankfurters in the jacket? I mean, you have to have some traditional stuff there. Come on, Brett. Put them in that spicy mustard. You're hoping it's Golden's.
Nothing? Wow.
Nothing traditional, but if you know Michael Wild, there's nothing traditional or regular about him. He's a one-of-a-kind guy, and so this was a one-of-a-kind bat mitzvah, and mazel tov to he and his family.
Mazel tov, and thanks.
Was he wearing a pink jacket? I always love it when he breaks out that pink jacket, man. Oh, he's great. No
pink jacket, but he looked great as always.
Well, always great having you on the program, Brett. Brett Tessler, the agent to the stars. I would imagine it'll be a very interesting week with a mad scramble for a lot of players. I don't know if you have any guys in that situation where they're now going to be looking for teams, or you might be able to find them a better spot, than the team they're on. But I would imagine very busy time, and we'll see how it shakes out. And I'm still thinking that number is very tantalizing. I want to go Dolphins over 8.5 from what I've seen. Put 48 on the board the other night, so that was great. Brett, we love you, and we'll talk to you again next week, my friend. All right. You dumped out on Tesla before you had a chance to say goodbye.
He's gone.
Never can say goodbye. All right. This is great. I wasn't on the show last week because I was, getting clobbered in New Orleans there and involved in a sodium bloodbath. Very much Mayo-esque in the way that I was treating my body by eating grilled oysters for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all in the same day.
So Sarni did come in with it. It took him a little late. I guess he was sleeping in this morning. I don't mind Pigskin Palooza.
Pigskin Palooza? But I don't know. Is that like...
Too hinky?
Well, the guy's dignified. See, if it was us, Pigskin Palooza, I think, would fit. It was just you and me. But when you get a John Congemi involved, I mean, you're talking about a real guy here. I mean, in terms of... he's a guy.
So Pigskin Party? Can it be Pigskin Party? Because it's like a party.
That's a little late. I had it, and I lost it, Libby. This is a sad thing about getting old. I had it. and I meant to write it down, which, you see me looking down. I'm referring to my very in-depth notes that I take on the show here, where I wrote down McElroy. You could go off for an hour. You should be able to hold up a pen. This would be, if I was teaching a class in this stuff, I would say, here's a pen. Tell me about it.
I did it last week. When you weren't there, I did 35 minutes and didn't mention sports once. I'm like, Defo would be proud.
Yeah. All right, we're going to be joined by John Congemi. We can't call John Congemi's segment the Pigskin Palooza.
So let him help come up with it. I don't know. He's witty.
Pigskin profit implies degenerate gambling. I don't know that John wants to be associated with that, with his affiliations with the Miami Dolphins and various other reputable media organizations. All right, we'll find out. We'll come up with something. John Congemi going to join us. We called it Dateline Dolphins, and it's essentially a lot of that also. So, but I think the broader scope of what Congemi brings to the table with his insight into college football and all pro teams, it's a little bit misleading to just refer to this segment as Dateline Dolphins, but it's brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. We know that. And we'll be back with John Congemi in a moment here on the Defo Show. Now that.
The time.
8:01. In style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
We welcome to the show John Congemi, who joins us for Dateline Dolphins. John, how are you, my friend?
Defo, I'm doing well, and that's not the only thing that's going to reach a new height. I'll be at about 220, 225 after this football season if we visit too much. Because the food's outstanding down at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Peel yourself off the mat Monday. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie. Lubitz here in South Florida Live, and it's a pleasure for me because it's the first time in a while we've had a chance to not only talk to but see the handsome one himself. We should just nickname him Ponce, as in De Leon, because he's found a fountain of youth, this cat. The great John Congemi joins us for what was known, Dateline Dolphins. What do you think, John? Do we broaden the scope of the title of this segment? Because you would go far beyond in this hour just talking about the Miami Dolphins. Hell, we even dabble into a little bit of golf. But what do you think? Pigskin Palooza, is that a track that maybe is a little misguided? What do you think?
I don't know, Defo. I might need a week to ponder this. This is pretty, fastball's coming at me at 8:04 in the morning here about a name change.
We're renaming the show. Yeah. You should have
I don't
just said,
know.
call my agent. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like Dateline Dolphins. We dabble into other stuff, but I think it might be a special year to have it Dateline Dolphins, because it could be a year that the Dolphins have high expectations, and we're going to be talking a lot about them, hopefully in a positive manner. So let's take a week to think about it.
Have you pivoted? I'm sensing maybe a little bit of a change of approach here in what we think is the most important statistic of the year, and that would be the over-under number for the Dolphins for the season at 8.5. Because I'm a believer, and you were saying schedule and this and that,
I was
unproven.
Being a
What do you
realist.
think now? I mean, have you seen enough to become a believer here?
I've seen enough at practice, and I've seen enough in the work ethic, and I've seen enough in what they've been able to do in a couple of weeks here during training camp that makes me believe that teams might fear the Miami Dolphins and going up not only on the offense,
fear,
but
I
on
like
the
that.
defensive side of the football. If Byron Jones, and this is going to be for me the key to the whole defense, if he can come back and be able to play week 1, week 2 at a level that's even close to what he's done in the past, I think this Dolphin defense has a chance to be really good. And that's, I haven't even mentioned Tua or Tyreek or Jalen Waddle or, Edmonds at running back and the guys that are coming on at wide receiver, or the offensive line that struggled early and maybe coming along now and finding their groove with Armstead getting in week 1. So I'm still right on the fence with the 9-10 if it's a solid season, and 11 if it's getting to rarefied air. But I think this team's going to be really good. And the way I look around the league at the preseason games, especially in the division, Buffalo's going to be a tough out. There's no doubt about it. They're the favorite. They're the favorite not only in the AFC East, but in the NFL. But New England and the Jets, wow, if we can't steal 4 games there, this team isn't what I think it could be.
Well, look, John, and I get it's just a preseason. So when we see good or bad, we're supposed to take it with a grain of salt. I understand. But we didn't see Armstead. I don't think Waddle played at all. Tyreek Hill
Very
finally,
sparingly, yeah.
Waddle, I think and Hill did the same thing, or Waddle did like one drive 2 games ago. Hill did one drive. But what we saw was very interesting from them, even being limited. They finally ran the ball really well this past game. And I get it, the Eagles didn't play their starters, but they weren't playing Armstead either. And Tua just, I don't know, it just felt, the quarterback play period, I mean, between Skylar Thompson and Tua, felt different. The guys felt more confident. They felt more emboldened. And instead of seeming trepidatious to make a play, you saw them make more plays, like Tua, the deep ball. And it wasn't even a perfect throw, and he said it. Even his bad throw was still 51 yards, and they scored 2 plays later, 2 passes from Tua later. Skylar Thompson, the 7th-round pick, is a guy that's the talk of the league. Even Bridgewater, after the safety, looked good. Like, the entire offense just seems to have a – Defo always talks about it. Like last year, you'd see them score that first drive, and then they'd go into a shell. You didn't see that the entire preseason. They put up when do you see 48 points in a preseason game? Like, this offense isn't the ugly stepbrother. Like, the defense and the offense seem like they feed off of each other in a way we haven't seen in a long time for this team.
Well, it has a lot to do with talent on the offense and gathering talent behind your starters. I think that's where the Dolphins have really done a good job in developing guys in an offense that accentuates what you do well, right? So Mike McDaniel comes in, and he's going to give you different formations. He's going to give you different route trees, different combinations on who he wants where, predicated on play action pass, which gives defenses some hesitation, because even though the Dolphins aren't known in years past to be able to beat you on the ground, when you stick the football out, it's like a magnet for everybody's eyes, no matter what position you play on defense. And those linebackers tend to get up towards the line of scrimmage like they're going for, feeding frenzy. Everybody's got to get in and see what's going on. And it's creating more space in the passing game. And they're doing it with faster players. And the ball's coming out on time, where Tua's very rarely did he hold the football during the preseason. There's been a couple of practices at training camp where you go, wow, I don't know, maybe he regressed today, or maybe it was the defense just had, a better hand, or maybe, it was Tampa Bay or the Eagles doing this or that when they had joint practices. But it was very rare. This offense has been rolling and been clicking, and I have to give credit to the head coach, the coaching staff, and most importantly, the players, because they're taking what they're seeing in the meeting rooms and the different motions and the different schemes and why guys are doing things to get others open. And then the decision-making from Tua at the quarterback spot makes this thing work. So you've got fast twitch players at running back that don't need a whole lot of room to run the football. And you've got Tua playing at a higher level. It sets this team up for a lot more success than I felt like they had a chance for a couple months ago.
Yeah. John Congemi, man. See, we respect you, John. I mean, we clown around, but when we have a guy like you on, we're figuring, all right, we're getting the real deal here. This is Evander Holyfield. And we're going to get the truth. And, you were skeptical about the 8 and a hook. And I thought, how could this team be worse? It's almost impossible to conceive of than it was a year ago when they started out 1-7.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to have won 9 games in that season, was remarkable, winning 8 out of 9 in the latter stages, second half, essentially. How could they be worse? I mean, they look like they're a lot better. Tua seems to be happy. Like in the past, he was always smiling. But it seemed like one of those deals like we always talk about with the Hank Aaron tribute to Barry Bonds when he broke the record of, 755, and they pulled back, and there were guys like holding machine guns to Aaron's head, after they pulled the hood off him. Yeah, right, like hooded guys. So, and it didn't seem like he was really all that happy, but he seems genuinely to be, pleased, comfortable, much more comfortable than he's been. And I would imagine that's, a tribute to Mike McDaniel, who, I want to believe this is going to work. I mean, I like this guy. Seems to know what he's doing, and the way he comports himself, he just seems to have like a good handle on the modern day athlete and being able to, be relatable to like the youngest of guys on the roster and the veterans that he's counting on, which aren't, he doesn't have like a lot of old guys to deal with anyway by any standard. It's a fairly young roster. So, I don't know. I mean, Mike McDaniel, very impressive to me so far. Maybe it all falls apart once the lights go on. But what do you think so far? I mean, from what you observed, you've been a lot closer to it, John.
That's been my read, Defo, to be honest with you. I wasn't sure what to expect because you felt like from afar, is this guy for real? Is this really going to work? Is this always going to be, laughing every press conference? That somebody's going to, make a joke and make a wisecrack or do something that deflects from the football team. But he always seems to bring it back around to the team and each individual relationship that he has with the players on the team and coaches and staff, and it goes deeper. So I do believe this guy is genuine, and this is what you're getting every time, no matter if you like it or not. And it seems so far, we haven't seen adversity hit at all, but it seems so far that this team has been able to respond. And the biggest kingpin that you have to trigger is your quarterback. And he's responded probably the easiest because I don't know if some guys, when Jimmy, we play the clip that, some guys need to be loved. Some guys need to be cussed. Some guys need to do this. I think Mike McDaniel has that edge to him because there was a practice that he brought the team in, and I think he read them the riot act, and he challenged them. Yeah. And he challenged them in a modern way that they could understand. And they responded the next day. They came out and had a great practice. But it was brutal for the offense at the end of a session in one of the days a couple of weeks ago. But I do think that he does take that extra step to get to know his players. And I think with Tua, he's hitting the right buttons so far. He's been able to, kind of pat him on the back, but let him know when he makes mistakes that he needs to respond to the team. He needs to be the guy that does it, and he needs to show an example. And I think that so far it's working. Whatever McDaniel is doing right now, it's working because he's hitting all the right buttons in the preseason.
Yeah, it wasn't like Joe Philbin getting mad one day, where people said, look, Philbin's mad. I didn't know he could get mad. I mean, because this guy was such a good guy and it's such an endearing character, or seemed to be with the team. And he had done a terrific job of creating this symmetry between, the head coach and the players. And then one day he's all pissed off. And I would imagine, that would get people's attention. And you actually, and others had speculated, like, can this guy get mad?
Yep.
And get that kind of respect from the players. And, it's one of those things where, yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to piss him off. So you're thinking you're going to respond if you're a player and go about the business the way that he was asking you to. Seems to have garnered a lot of respect for a guy that hadn't coached a game. And looked like he kind of knew what he was doing. All right, we're getting a lot of suggestions here. At the Pigskin Palooza, I think it puts you, I don't want to have like any kind of like clownish connotations associated with a John Congemi. I mean, I'm watching you on CBS the other day. You're carrying Bo Camper. Kim's coming up with stuff, and you're like, nah, that ain't the way it is. No, it was great. And so I don't know. Pigskin Palooza is a little far fetched for me.
What
a
about
lot of people are pushing for that.
Pigskin prognosis.
It's a little deep, though. I mean, isn't it? Prognosis. It sounds like you're being diagnosed for, whether you got, cancer or not. I don't know. That's like the golf stuff.
He diagnoses football for us, football of all levels. He diagnoses.
I was thinking of something simple like Pigskin Preview, but that implies that we're not going to talk about anything that happened in the past. It's a real problem, John. It's becoming a real problem.
Here. We've got an issue on our hands, guys.
Dolphins Report Plus. That was a suggestion from the great Jim Sarney, but that's kind of come on, Jim. That's not exactly a flashy, catchy headline type of thing where you go, "Wow, I can't wait to hear Dolphins Report Plus" with John Congemi. All right, we'll work on that. Dateline Dolphins will have to suffice for now, and we've been talking primarily about the Dolphins. All right, there's always the surprise guys. And, we've been kind of touching on this through the show where, you knew if you were an observer, an analyst, whatever your job was around the National Football League, where you had to, you were talking about or writing about a team, that after the fourth preseason game, all of us, that's when everybody was on edge because like an hour later, they were coming out with the cuts.
Yeah, right.
I mean, a friend of mine, the late, great Jim McKinley, was telling me about, they were actually pulling the tape off the locker in the third quarter because the guy was going to get cut, when he was with the Oklahoma Outlaws of the USFL.
Oh, Jesus.
But I mean, there was a definition to it. So what do you make of what's happening? Are there surprises? I mean, is there a guy that impressed you that you said, man, we know Skylar Thompson is one, but where if this guy got cut, you would absolutely be astonished?
Oh man, I don't know. I'd have to say one of the wide receivers, that came along. I liked, Sherfield's on the team, Azukama's on the team. Maybe it's River Craycraft who came out of nowhere in this last game because he took the spot of Jalen Waddle. I mean, he's out there with the first team, and not only for the first series, for the second series, for the third series. And I'm not so sure if it's, hey, we're giving River an opportunity to show what he's done in practice, and does it translate into a game with the starters? Or, he earned this position, and he went and took his opportunity and took it even higher. He elevated his spot on the roster. I think it's going to be some of the deletions, Defo and Lubie, that may be surprising Dolphin fans just because of their names. I don't see Preston Williams anywhere on this roster.
Wow.
And unfortunately, 2-3 years ago, you think back and go,
he was a camp darling.
Parker.
Yeah.
He was the camp darling, and he was the guy that was going to, he's 6'5", he's going to go up and get the ball. We've got two great size wide receivers on the outside. I don't see him making the team. I don't think Mohamed Sanu is, and he didn't do anything to his fault at camp to say like, well, he shouldn't be on the team. But it's just other guys have passed him. And I think, being able to just have that other gear at wide receiver, I don't know if Mohamed still possesses that or not. He looked fine during, one-on-ones and going through, but it's these young guys that have a special gear right now that seem at wide receiver, they're going to be able to, maybe anchor a roster spot where Mohamed's not going to get it. And then the last guy, I think that Sony Michel may not make the roster.
Oh, really?
I think Ahmed and Myles Gaskin have done enough that they go, wow, the same reason. It's not that Sony Michel did anything wrong in the preseason, but when you see the other guys in space with speed and making plays, you go, wow, why aren't I thinking keep him because he may give you, if somebody goes down, who's going down on special teams? Who's going down to cover a punt? Who's going down to cover a kick? It's not Sony Michel throughout his career. It's been, Savon Ahmed and Myles Gaskin. And they give you that speed out of the backfield, catching it and doing all the things that Mike McDaniel wants to do in this offense. So those are maybe the surprises on the side that aren't going to be here. The guys on the defensive side, I'm not so sure. If we had one or two stars emerge at corner, I thought Thurl Williams was the guy, and he goes down and gets hurt. And now you're kind of, now you've got Igbenogany back in the mix going, oh gosh, he's going to be on the roster, but where are we going to put him?
Who he? Yeah.
Lubie,
you wanted to chime in with something here.
Was the surprises solidify themselves in game one. Like Ezukama solidified himself, Sherfield solidified, and then this game, Craycraft was just open every time he ran a route. So you sort of got to keep it. You could tell, look, Williams, they kept putting him out there going, we want you to show us. Please show us. And he showed him. Like, he muffed a punt in a preseason game for no reason. Like, he was never open. He wasn't making plays. Igbenogany is interesting. He finally started to look a little better in this game. This game
did.
Finally did look better. Where
he competed, Lubie, and that's what you want to see out of that guy. Because defensive corner is a different position. Because the only time you're getting noticed is when you're getting burned, basically. You're getting your name called out, and it's, you've got 4 or 5 chances in a game to make a play. The other ones are just, if the ball comes your way, can you make it a contested catch? Can you, break on the football? Are you in the right spot for a tip pass? And all of a sudden you make a play. And especially the way that Josh Boyer, the defensive coordinator, I mean, these corners are challenging wide receivers. They're up in their face. So you're going to get exposed one way or another. You're either going to make a play or not. And, not has been Igbenogany's, long line last year and early in training camp. But as you said, against the Eagles, you saw his number flash a little bit more. You saw him around the football in a positive manner. And there's got to be a reason why he was reached maybe in the first round as a draft choice. And, you think back at that, gosh, you could have Jonathan Taylor at running back for the Dolphins or anybody else at that spot. And now you're hoping that he's turning the corner and he can give you something where you can depend on him. If somebody goes down or you're in nickel or dime, you can use him in a positive way.
I can hear it now. I have to maybe go into a little John Facenda mode. Pigskin Playbook is brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. That would have to be, let me take 2 on that. Pigskin Playbook with John Congemi is brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Mile marker 104, Overseas Highway, Key Largo. We're going back, man. Tommy Fox pulled it off. I think you gave him a little nudge on this one. Because he wasn't returning my texts. I don't blame him. I would put like tennis ? No response. But you got this going, John Congemi, and rightfully so, because you have such a deep connection there with Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill in Key Largo. And what a dynamite place with the football season on the horizon and the fall coming in here. I mean, a great place to hang out or get something to eat.
It is awesome. I was down about a month ago visiting my family down there, my brother and sister-in-law, and just had a great time. It was a Sunday, so that means Dominic's on the mic at some point, Larry's on the guitar, and Amanda's the only one working. Right?
Wow.
So
yeah.
So it was a great trip. It was a great sunset on the Bayside. The place was packed. The tiki bar, everybody was getting served. There was food galore, and it was just an awesome experience for our family and for people that were either leaving the Keys or just staying for another hour or two at sunset. So such a beautiful place. And Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. It's ready for football season. I know the sports bar is ready, the restaurant downstairs ready, outside serving areas in the tiki bar, and that spot is just a spectacular place, even in the morning, afternoon, or watching the sunset down in Key Largo.
Oh, it's a great spot. All right, one of our pieces of the agenda will be to bring Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, down there. And, of course, he was just featured in a giant article in the Sun Sentinel Sunday magazine about his post-food critic and 31 years at the Sun Sentinel. But we have to, what do you think? Can we get a professional photographer? Do we need one to get his reaction the first time he takes a bite out of one of the Italian fisherman pizzas that we're going to have your brother make for him?
That might be a good idea. I mean, that's a spectacular shot because I know I'm excited every time hey, is it ready yet? Is the pizza ready yet? Bring it out. It's okay. We'll take it 80%. Bring it out.
That thing's a mind blower. I mean, it would be like the Dolphins having a perfect season again. I mean, when that thing comes out there and you're like, wait a minute, man, is that like Maine lobster on top of this thing? Well, what the hell?
Are we allowed to eat this or just parade it out?
It's unreal, man. All right, we're going to get down there and have that show with the Jimmer. He's going to be promoting his book, which is called Swagger with Dave Hyde. We've invited Dave Hyde to come, so it's going to be a spectacular. And Lubie, as the road engineer, John Congemi, you'll be very pleasantly surprised. I mean, he sort of has it together. Says
he told me that last week. He said he's got everything organized and ready to go. So I'm encouraged. I know I can't wait. It'll be exciting.
Going to be a lot of fun. All right, we have a lot to talk about. Yeah, the college football season start. We have the rest of the National Football League as a Pigskin Playbook. That's the latest suggestion. Continues, formerly known as, also known as, a lot of my friends have an also known as attached to them.
Is that a good thing?
As in also known as Louis the Lip. Yeah, exactly. Also known as Dateline Dolphins with John Congemi. We'll continue with that in a moment here on South Florida Live. Now that.
The time.
How about Scott Frost, man? Is that it for him? Losing to Northwestern?
Man.
It's 826.
Kicks.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
John Congemi. Now, did you scale it back when you were head-to-head with Danny there at Augusta National? Because he doesn't like to lose.
Actually, guys, you're right. Dan doesn't like to lose in anything. And the only time I was ever able to go to Augusta, I think the Samsung guy backed out, and Danny asked me about 11:30 at night, and I put on my shoes and went to bed. And I woke up and went to Augusta, made a hole-in-one on the 16th hole, and Dan said he hit a better shot than me, so he took the tee on 17. So I let him do that. I didn't want to get
stepped in front of you after a hole-in-one.
When you add it up, I flew up on a private jet. I was going to eat for free. I played the golf course. I figured he deserves the tee on 17.
I mean, the audacity just to cut right in front of you after a hole-in-one.
Buenos dias. The cafecito is piping hot. Why not enjoy it with Defo and Lubie? It's now time for the Defo Show.
I was just picturing if I ever was allowed to take a crew out there on Augusta National and we get kicked off the course for urinating on the azaleas at Amen Corner.
Where's
I have to ask you this.
Where's Defo? He's behind 12T.
You can't take a piss on the course at Augusta National, can you? I can't imagine.
They
I have this. Can you see this? Can you make out this? This is
the bobblehead.
The bobblehead of Danny. Now, what do you see is inherently wrong with this bobblehead? I mean, sometimes at the Hall of Fame in Canton, they unveil the bronze and it looks nothing like the guy, and everybody goes, "Oh, yeah, that looks great," because and meanwhile they're like petrified that, that they made some kind of mistake here. They made.
Is it a lefty? Is it a
no?
lefty?
They made him a black guy. What is that?
He's African American.
I know.
Well, it was. I don't know. I can't.
He
really
looks
tell.
like Lamar Jackson in this. Are you kidding me? That's weird. Do you have one of these? I just noticed it on my desk, and Louie was playing that clip about Marino.
I don't have one of those.
But I think, could this be worth like a fortune somewhere? Do I have the only Marino as a black guy bobblehead that has ever been made? And it's in good condition. I mean, we're talking about mint condition, like that Mickey Mantle card that just sold for $12.6 million. Oh, my God. I probably had one of those, John. That's the sad part. Back in the day, I don't know about a 52 because I was, only 1 year old at that point, 1 year old. All right, we want to get into, some college football, but we would really be, and we've dedicated this show to Jason Jenkins, who shockingly passed away. And I know you, in all likelihood, worked very closely with him, as we did over the years. And we didn't know him as well as maybe we would have liked to, but every contact we had with this guy, you just, certain people, we talk about them, and they just exude class.
Yep.
And that's what I remember about Jason Jenkins. I always felt like, wow, this is a classy gentleman who really, is sincere in what he's doing and is out there to help people. And he did a lot of great work in the community. Stunned, John Congemi, when I heard that he had passed away.
Well, I think everybody was shocked and stunned when they heard the news because, it was middle of the afternoon and, just at the stadium. And one of those things where when you do hear the news and you hear that it's true, you just don't even have the words to say anything. You just feel, such a deep sense of loss and depression, really. Jason did such a magnificent job for the Miami Dolphins, not only, within the organization, but taking that and extending that to the community. And what he did, he was a pillar of success and successes in everything that he touched. And what a great extension of the organization to utilize Jason in that way, to go out and be the Miami Dolphins, for every organization that he touched got better, by him being around it and him being involved with it and him organizing it. So, just a tremendous loss for not only his family, but the Miami Dolphins as a family and as a community, and what he did for the Miami Dolphins brand. I mean, he just raised it to another level.
Yeah, fantastic. He was one of those guys that, and I'm, always surprised that teams don't take more advantage of people like this in that type of position, where he kind of made you feel like you were a part of the Dolphins organization. Even if you were, a media type that, that they might have thought, well, geez, all of these guys are always super critical. He always made you feel welcome, which is a good thing for a team, if they're trying to, get a positive message out there. And, his community work was just outstanding. And the Dolphins, sometimes overlook for that while we're looking at some of the clownology that took place with Stephen Ross. You forget that they still have always been, very much entrenched and immersed in the community and doing a lot of good things. And he was responsible for much of that. All right. You were amazed. Now, the onside kick is great if it works. Sean Payton, right?
Why?
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Won a Super Bowl with the onside kick in a time where it was just a total surprise. Northwestern, we had Mark Lawrence on the show, and he said, take the 13 with Northwestern. And what we've seen Nebraska now lose, they're in a string of like 7 or 8 straight losses of 7 points or less.
Right?
Yeah. Now, Scott Frost, we've spoken with people going into the season. If anybody was on the ropes or on the old Ed Ogeron hot seat, Scott Frost's name comes up almost right away. And this couldn't have helped him any. I would imagine they've turned up the propane a notch on that hot seat that he was sitting on in Nebraska after a straight up loss to Northwestern.
Yeah, and this was a team that, goes out and gets Mark Whipple as their offensive coordinator. And it seemed like after the game, there was some tension between head coach and coordinator as well.
Love that. I love that, especially in Ireland. Yeah.
Yeah. So, many trips to Ireland or many trips to Europe seem like they don't come back with a head coach in the National Football League or, sometimes in college football. Although Scott Frost does, get another chance, it's going to be, he's going to have to start, knocking them down like 6, 7, 8 in a row to be able to keep his job, because the fans have probably had it in Cornhusker Nation, because they expect to win. They especially expect to beat Northwestern. no matter where they play them, home, Evansville, Ireland, it doesn't matter. They expect to beat Northwestern. And to Northwestern's credit, they did everything right. I mean, the quarterback played lights out, especially in the first half. The running back was sensational. And they made all the plays they needed to make down the stretch to ice the game, especially with the interception, at the end of the game to kind of, take all the hope away from Nebraska.
Frost was stunned after the game. I mean, he could barely utter a word. I mean, he just looked absolutely beside himself. And probably, like you said, I mean, we've seen that before where a coach was left behind after a losing trip to Europe. Raiders did it a few years ago where they left the coach there. He never even returned on the team flight from London. It was like, oh, geez. That's really, really cold. But, yeah, Frost is going to be caddying at like Royal Troon.
Man,
he wants to stay involved in sports.
The guy had it made at UCF, right? And
Yes.
he can't lose. He brought it to.
Was this an alma mater thing though? Where he
it is. It is. And
yeah.
Usually when you go back, they expect things that he did as a player.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't have the players to get you where you want to go. And now they're getting better. It's not like they're not competitive. They're in every football game. They just can't find a way to finish, to find a way to make plays that turn the outcome in your favor. And that's been a trend. That's been a trend that's carried over for the last couple of seasons. And now it enters into a new season. And I'm sure the frustrations that, it's marked at red and can't get any higher.
Keith Jackson, man, has to be rolling over in his grave, man, watching that onside kick go awry. And I'm an advocate of being a little bit daring. In general, I like it. Naturally, being a degenerate, hopeless gambler my entire life. But, when it doesn't work, man, it's ugly.
When it doesn't work and it looks so bad, it almost looks like, we're going to kick it slowly right at a defend, right at one of the upline guys.
That was perfect,
on the hands team. They couldn't have been a worse kick. It couldn't have been a worse effort as well. So I'm wondering, is that a gut decision or is that one of these analytics? Oh, we're up by 11. We've got momentum. We're gonna knock it down their throat. We're gonna get the onside kick and put the game out of reach. It sounded more like a gut play than this is what the book says, because sometimes the analytics and your gut don't mesh.
Yeah. Well, we know the kicker didn't do this on his own because he would be, at some online university, like before they even got on the plane to come back from Ireland.
Yeah, he would have kicked it and ran right out of the tunnel. Just kept going right out.
Pull a Randall Hill, yeah.
Right, the first pub you see, just hang a left and just watch the rest of the game.
Start drinking heavily. All right, Lubie's all excited about his Florida State Seminoles. I don't know if you've had a chance to take much of a look at the Seminoles. He's claiming they're on the rise. And, and this is now it's a degenerate element in the show because Sunday they will play LSU at the Caesars Palace or Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, where I was just there. The fans there are insane for football. And they love it. And there's a good chance that Florida State and Mike Norvell will be under some kind of voodoo spell before their plane even lands. So taking all of that into account, I mean, did their 47-7 win over Duquesne, who, John Congemi, we didn't even know had a football team, and now we found out they didn't have a football team. They just put one together so they could cash a ticket here against FSU. Did that give you reason to believe that they could cover the 3-point spread against LSU, where many of our football experts have said they are going out there and it will be a burial? What do you think?
I think it's going to be uphill for sure. And I do agree with that for Florida State. I like Mike Norvell. I think he's a good football coach. I think it's almost in the same fashion as Nebraska, where not specifically against LSU, but it's time for Florida State to start winning games that they should win, right? In the ACC, that they should beat teams, that you line up and you go, okay, we have better athletes. We're better coached. We're playing at home. We should win. LSU, Brian Kelly, new coach, probably a better roster. Quarterback-wise, Florida State probably has an edge in terms of who's starting in the game. But I would think playing it in their backyard, it's going to be very difficult for Florida State to maybe hang on once that game gets going. I think early on it's going to be okay, but they're going to have to, score first, keep the lead, and see where they are, midway through the second quarter. Is this still a football game, or is LSU kind of taking over? I hope it's not that point. I hope Florida State does play well and wins the game, quite frankly. But I think it's going to be uphill for Mike Norvell and the Seminoles.
All right, so go ahead and lay the 3, is what you're saying. Our friend Josh Booty, and I don't know if you know Josh, but he quarterback there, and he does a lot of football analysis now, and very, very good at what he does. This is the game of his lifetime, which has Lubie upset.
I'm not upset. If I was betting, I would take LSU. I just think people are underestimating Florida State. I just don't think. I think they watched the first half of the season and they didn't watch the second half, where they played better competition and almost won every game. They had a lead in the fourth quarter in every game, except for, I think, Louisville and Florida. But the Clemson game, every game outside of Louisville and Florida, of the 8 games, they had a lead in the fourth quarter. So they're vastly different than they were the year before. And I think this year they will be too. So we'll see. Again, if it was a neutral site game, I'd feel better. The fact that it's in New Orleans, that sort of is annoying because it's supposed to be a neutral site and it's not. But I think they'll be closer than the handicapper assumes. Not Vegas. Vegas is where I would be. I think LSU would win eventually.
3 points.
But I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think people are giving credit to really the overhaul they've done at the offensive line. Jimbo didn't put time and effort into the offensive line. Mike Norvell has. He's made it imperative.
Right.
So, but what I would ask is, because I actually agree with Defo, you play a Duquesne, what do you get from that? Oh, they lost to Jacksonville State last year. So the fact that you played a Duquesne for the first time in FSU history, and they've had a lot of good running backs. You had 3 running backs over 100 yards. You had over 400 yards of rushing. Your quarterback did not turn it over, and that's been a problem for Jordan Travis at times.
It was Duquesne, Lubie.
I know, but they played Jacksonville State last year and lost.
Yeah.
So
does Duquesne even have another game scheduled, John? I mean, is that their only game of the season?
Yes, they do.
Put a team together for one game.
I would assume they do, yes.
Can you take anything from a game that you should win decisively? Can you?
Well, Lubie, I'm thinking
delusional.
At least you have an opportunity to play a game, right? You have an opportunity to run your offense out. You have an opportunity to see a different color jersey. You have an opportunity to make plays you're supposed to make, even if you're playing a lesser opponent. They had that chance last year, and they didn't get it done. Now, Jacksonville State, to their credit, they're getting most of their players, off the transfer portal from Auburn, from LSU, from big schools that for one reason or another they fell out of favor at their school, and they all find Jacksonville State, because I remember doing games there and I'm going, former Alabama player, former Auburn player, former FSU player, a lot of guys that are out find their way there. So that was probably a step up in a no-name team that you think you should handle very easily, but don't. But LSU is going to be, they're going to have the same body type. They're, if not bigger and faster and better at some spots. So it's going to be a challenge. That's what I'm saying. Early in the game, can FSU take one down and run the football and make plays and protect it, get a lead, and put the pressure on LSU to come back and do the same.
Neon Dion, man, he can attract them, and that name, image, and license, likeness probably helps a lot too. There is, you see, almost every Jackson State player has got his own line of commercials on TV, so that has to help a lot to make them competitive. What will Nick be complaining about? And it's Dateline Dolphins, maybe soon to be known as Pigskin Playbook, with John Congemi here, brought to you by Jimmy John's Big Chill, a mile marker 104 in the beautiful spot of Key Largo, Florida. But what will Nick find to complain about after taking on Utah State, a team that was life and death to beat UConn this week 0, where UConn, I mean, who was the clown coach that they let go of that it was like, 3-60 or something? And now they have Jim Mora Jr., Yeah, there you go. Good call there, John Congemi. I knew you would know this answer. But, Utah State, literally, in a dogfight, just a bloodbath to beat UConn, and now they have to face Alabama. So what will Nick find to complain about after this game? That people are going to overrate his club because they won by 80?
For teams like Alabama, it's always about coaching against yourself, right? It's always about what we're doing. And he'll be he'll be pissed on the sidelines, yelling at his defensive lineman for not getting off the field, or we need to call a timeout. We didn't get this playoff right, and he'll be mad at the quarterback and mad at the coordinator, and he'll find reasons to put pressure on his football team to play flawlessly in every aspect of the way they go about doing things. And it won't be about the opponent this week. It'll be about Alabama getting better to face teams down the road that they're going to need to be better against.
All right. Warn your brother when we go down to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill about mayo, because he might be able to eat the whole Italian fisherman pizza, and then we may not see him for the next couple of days. I mean, because that's going to be a giant, monumental task. But I mean, the rest of us will be out there to chill out. And it is a perfect place, and it's funny when you were talking about Larry Calvano and your brother out there with the band. I mean, that's the scene I remember the most from our visit to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. As spectacular as it was just like the sun was setting, and these guys who just worked their ass off all day are out there playing music at the end of the day and having a great time together.
Well, it's gotten to the point, Defo, that they want to travel on Sundays. They want their own gigs at different places.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, it's unbelievable. They do a great job, obviously, of running the Big Chill, and the service is impeccable. But when it gets to about 3, 4, 5 o'clock on a Sunday, they're going to find their way on the stage. Whether you like it, they like, the band likes it, they're going to come up and play. And I think that's one of the charming aspects of the Keys, and especially at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, because, hey, wasn't that guy just handing me a pie, half an hour ago? He's on the mic. It's great. He just wanted to make sure everything was good with our party, and now he's playing guitar,
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable, and it's laid back, and it's chill, and it's what the Keys is supposed to be. Only you get first class service and unbelievable food, whether you're ordering the fresh catch of the day or you have the fisherman's pizza waiting for you.
It's funny, too, seeing Jimmy himself down there on the dock making a deal with some local fishermen here for like a chest full of mahi-mahi. And then like an hour later, that's on your table there. I mean, fresh as a daisy. I mean, right out of the sea. There's such a difference, in the quality of what you get there at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, and such wide variety, too. So we're looking forward to our next visit down there. You guys should plan one, too. That's mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway. You'll catch John's brother, the great Dominic Congemi, running around in the kitchen and then playing with the band. Now, was your dad there on your last visit? Because
he was.
He's a medical wonder.
Mom
I mean, amazing. Yeah.
They were partaking in food and drink, having a great time, and I was commandeering the ship so that they could freewheel it on a Sunday afternoon. It was great.
Designated driver, very good.
Right.
Now, how do you have time to do that? Because every time I turn on the TV, there you are.
It was just before just before camp started, so I had plenty of time.
All right, very good.
Now we go 26 straight weeks on Sunday with Dolphins Weekly Live and the post-game show.
It's an awesome job. Awesome. Great stuff. All right, more of what could be known as Pigskin Playbook, also known as Dateline Dolphins with John Congemi coming up here on South Florida Live. I'm Jeff DeForest. He is Mike Lubitz. And, of course, John's segment every week brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway. We return with more on a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:48. In style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Jimmy Johnson joins us here on the program, along with John Congemi, and it's Dateline Dolphins, of course. Leslie Visser, the lovely and talented one.
Did you trademark that expression, by the way?
Now, how about them Cowboys? I should have.
Oh,
I'm not a businessman, as Larry Calvino will know. Jerry Jones is a businessman. Jerry Jones is the smartest businessman that I've ever been around. He knows how to make money, and he works at it night and day. He trademarked my "How about them Cowboys?"
He trademarked it? Of course.
I don't get a penny off those shirts. Not one penny.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, great to be with you on a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday here, the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, and, of course, the great John Congemi goes Dateline Dolphins and or Pigskin Palooza. Haven't really decided what we're going to do about that yet here on the program. That could be a decision that's made over the course of the entire season. In fact, I wouldn't even negotiate the new title once the regular season starts, John. I would make one of those demands, which who was this that St. Thomas was cremating some big game? Was that at Hard Rock Stadium? What the heck was that?
No, they played at St. Thomas. It was a team from Pennsylvania, I think right out of the Philly area, maybe St. Joe. I can't remember. Yeah, it was a good game, actually. St. Thomas had it in hand, and they cough it up 3 times on 3 consecutive possessions, and they allow the game to be close, but found a way to put it away at the end.
It was always great going down there. Lubie and I called a couple of games at St. Thomas. We were doing his high school football game in a week thing on the radio for a while. A couple of seasons we did it. And Giovanni Bernard was the running back. And he went for like 400 yards in one of these games. It was crazy. And no surprise to see him later on become a success in the National Football League. All right. I know you're in wild anticipation of Thursday night, John Congemi.
Yes.
And the Pittsburgh Panthers, your alma mater, are taking on West Virginia. They're favored by 7 points at home. Our good friend Charlie Partridge, of course, involved there with Pittsburgh. They had a great season last year. What do you think? And what's your prognosis for Pitt and that ballgame?
As we were talking about earlier with college football, sometimes you have lopsided, matchups, and sometimes you have matchups you're just not sure of because, it's the first game for everybody. And both teams kind of ushering in transfer quarterbacks playing for different teams in their first game, and it's a rivalry type of game. So I do think the Panthers should win the game at home. They probably have the better team. Just reading about different situations in college football, when you read about West Virginia, I think the people that in the know have them all over the board. They have them at 7 or 8 wins, and some people have them at 4 wins. So there, somewhere in between lies the truth. And pretty much with the Pitt team, they're picking them to challenge. They're picking them to challenge with Miami on that side of the ledger for the ACC championship, at least to get in and play for it. So I would think the Panthers would have the upper hand playing at home, but you never know in opening games with new quarterbacks playing for the first time for their respective schools. It'll probably come down to the fourth quarter in this game, and I would think early in the seasons, turnovers always play an interesting role, and I would think a turnover in this game might sway it one way or the other.
Before we go, John, I just want to, because Defo and I talked about this, and it's funny. We've talked about this with you for years now. It seems like it's the same old story. Alabama, Georgia, Clemson fell off, but people think they'll be back this year. Oklahoma now has lost Lincoln Riley, but people think they'll be around there. Ohio State, right? And when you look at the spreads, it's like a team like Oregon at 11 shouldn't be almost a 3-touchdown underdog. A team like Notre Dame at 5 shouldn't be a 3-touchdown underdog. But that's where we are with Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama. Do you see either of those teams making those games interesting? Because to me, that's crazy. Like 18 points for two teams that are really around the top 10.
Yeah, why not? I don't get that. There can't be that much. We all know that we have the haves and the have-nots in college football, and it's been that way forever. And the heavy hitters are just that much better because they're going to wear you down and beat you up in the second half by the time you feel like you have a chance early, but then you look up and it's 14 points, it's 17-point deficit, it's 21, and you don't have a chance. I think teams like that should. I mean, Notre Dame, they get the pick of the litter, just like everybody else that's eating at the top of the food chain. They should be very competitive. And I don't know why they would, feel like going into Ohio State that they would be that much of an underdog in terms of they have the same talent, the same athletes, and they have a young coach that's going to be in the spotlight for the first time on this stage. But it should be a competitive football game. I'm looking at, you look at teams like Baylor and you look at teams like Utah, they always take for granted some of the lesser brand names, but those two teams are going to be really good in their respective conferences. So it'll be interesting this year in college football. I still think that, the Georgias and Alabamas and Ohio States are going to, be there at the end, but somebody's going to, the Texas A&M is it their year to come through and finally, not only knock off Alabama, but continue that in the SEC and be one of the big guys at the end of the day that's standing on top of the mountain. I don't know. It's going to take a lot to get Alabama this year because they're pissed off. Georgia knocked them off the mantle. They're going to want to get back on top. But I still think there's room for a lesser brand name than those 3 or 4 that we mentioned. Somebody to be a surprise this year.
Not that they're in the same category, but will there be comparisons to Jerry Faust if this Freeman cat gets blown out of the building in his first game? He seems to be far more together and capable of performing at this level than Faust was after coaching in high school and feeding them all of those 320-pound linemen that kept the Notre Dame program going at a top level for a long, long time. All right, and a week from Thursday, the NFL kicks off. John Congemi. Wow, what a matchup, huh? Thursday Night Football, the Bills and the Rams.
Nice.
The Rams, who I think are being overlooked at like 11-1 to come back and repeat as Super Bowl champions. I think they have an excellent chance to win the NFC. And the Bills are everybody's darling to win it all this year. Great matchup. I was thinking, I'm not buying the Buccaneers this year. If I was going to eliminate a team that everybody thinks is in contention for the championship, now they'll probably win it and go undefeated, but
that offensive line.
I'm going under the women weaken legs theory. The Mick from Rocky, once a woman is in your head, I don't know if this has been your experience, but if she gets in your head in the wrong way and starts to interfere with the vibe that you have going at work, no matter what your job may be, very, very troubling, and detrimental overall to your performance. And I believe that's going to happen to Tom Brady. I think Giselle is occupying his mind to an extreme. I mean, who leaves practice for 11 days and, goes on a vacation to the Bahamas?
Yeah. And who are we to argue with the Mick? Right?
Yeah.
He had it right.
He's right.
Especially with that breath coming in the corner, you would think from the Mick, right? It's going to be a tough one for Tampa Bay. I agree with Lubie. The offensive line, I mean, Tom Brady can mask a lot of deficiencies on an offense, but I'm not so sure if you have multiple injuries to an offensive line, at some point that depth is going to catch up to you. So if I had to, maybe take a step back on one of the teams, it might be Tampa Bay. But gosh, if they figure it out, they're loaded at wide receiver, and their defense looked really good when I saw them a couple weeks back, just in the practices against the Dolphins. So Tom Brady has a way of taking some really bad situations and pot of gold at the end of the day. So he's the one guy you can't count out.
I'm going to take out advertising on his shoes. I am, because he's going to be looking up at the lights By the way, did Burgess Meredith win an Oscar for his portrayal of Mick in the Rocky movies? Because I mean, every gym that you went to, and I hung out in a lot of these boxing gyms, these old ancient relic gyms, like the Main Street Gym in L.A. and Fifth Street Gym down here when it was in kind of the tail end of its heyday, and there was always a guy like that there.
Yeah,
always. And he was like bringing the spit bucket up during a sparring session, and then as he walked away from the ring, he would show you an old, faded out picture of himself from a newspaper clipping out of a newspaper that was out of existence, where he was in that pose and said, "I fought the champ 12 rounds." A lot of people
just happen to have
won.
this in my pocket. Yeah,
they would take a swig out of a bottle. I mean, it was a brilliant portrayal by Burgess Meredith of that type of character. All right, tremendous job by you, John Congemi. It flew by as always, and it was great, being back with you here on the show. Looking forward to a great season with Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, and that's mile marker 104 in the beautiful spot of Key Largo. What are you going to be on next? I mean, you have so many things going. Do we catch you daily on that Dolphin thing?
No, every Sunday at 11:30 we'll be on Channel 4 WFOR.
Nice.
CBS. So
you carried Jim Barry also. You carried Barry in that thing. Barry was
Jim will be
straws.
joining us on the fifth quarter. He won't be on the 11:30 show, but he'll be anchoring the fifth quarter. That's for sure.
What's he doing? Getting bombed during the game?
He's
Barry's a very professional guy.
Time.
Oh
He's
yeah,
on the
that's
news
right.
Side now.
No, he does a great job, Jim Barry.
Yes, he does.
Always, good guy to work with and work around. Excellent. All right, John, thanks so much. Great stuff. Good luck in your game on Thursday night. Pittsburgh, I don't know. Well, should we send you a text? It's over if they get up 3-0?
Go ahead. I'll be, send the text. I'll be disappointed.
Because that's the jinx.
Happens.
You know that. As soon as we send out the it's over thing, the other team turns the game around and ends up winning in a romp. All right. We love you, John. Thanks so much for being with us here on the program.
Thanks, guys. Good being with you guys.
John Congemi, ladies and gentlemen. Dateline Dolphins. Although Mayhem Monday, what do you think? Julian.
Mayhem Monday and Pigskin Playbook are the two I like the most.
Pigskin Playbook is a good one. Sarney. I knew Sarney was good for this. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I figured he would have a very viable suggestion on this. Pigskin Preview doesn't really tell the story because it's mostly a review, is it not? I mean, when you're coming on a Monday, you're talking about the NFL, the college football weekend. And review doesn't work there. Pigskin Review.
No,
because there's no alliteration, and you have to have that.
Playbook. I like that.
All right, work on that, Lubie. Tomorrow we'll be with you as well, and all kinds of things happening on the show during the week, including Tony Segreto on Wednesday with a little old school with Tony. We have the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge Thursday. Degenerate Friday was a spectacular this week. Great prediction, off to a good start. Mark Lawrence, huh? What did he say? Take the points. What was it? Northwestern, not West Virginia. We don't want to take the points with West Virginia. We'd be rooting against Charlie Partridge. Maybe we try and get Charlie on the show before they play that game on Thursday night. That'd be great. All right, very good. And the U.S. Open tonight, Serena, does she go down? You take plus 290 on this unknown Danka Kovishmenk or whatever her name is? What do you think? Bye-bye, Serena?
Bye-bye.
I mean, it's the Monty Stratton story. I mean, I hate to do this, but bunt on him. I mean, just move her around. That's what you have to do. Slice, dice, Vegematic City. Make this woman move off of her spots, and it's over, man. And she's lunging in desperation there.
Yep.
She looks like Jesus Aguilar all season, lunging for some ball that's off the plate to pop it up to the second baseman with the bags juiced, where he was brilliant in these situations in the past. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow at 7. Always a pleasure. And at 12 o'clock today, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. I believe Mike Mayo goes William Hayes on this out of Midnight Express and bites into a tongue. Is that what he's going to do? Is that what he was like going to pick up a tongue sandwich from some deli somewhere in Russia. I don't know where he was getting this thing. But and then also V&S, his favorite sub shop, although we will be at Las Patas on Wednesday with that show live. That's confirmed, Lubie. Are you okay with that? Las Patas, Lauderdale by the Sea, Wednesday. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox.
I'm ready for it, man. I think that's a great way to cap the month of sandwiches.
With the ultimate sandwich there, which Mayo, remember when he used to make a face? I would mention Las Patas, he would make a face. I think that face is going to change dramatically. But we'll get into it with Mike Mayo later on today on Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. A very popular show here on South Florida Live. And we will see you tomorrow at 7 with this program as we leave you know that.
The time.
9:04.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.